Live from the Big Tomato, this is Kings Pod 2020 with your hosts, Geoff and Toke. Geoff, what's up, man? Merry Christmas.
What up, Toke? Happy Thanksgiving. Merry Christmas. We're in that kind of lull period here where the Kings are terrible, but we're got the holidays to look forward to. It's honestly just like pretty much every other year. Yeah, we're used to this spot.
It's probably good for our mental health, and that's going to loop. Okay, great. It's probably good for our mental health that at this time of year and at this point in the season, Christmas is coming up, because it's kind of built in to like save us from ourselves, if you know what I mean.
Something to look forward to, so we don't have to just wallow in the self-pity.
Because like once you get past like January, like early January, now you're starting to look at the draft. Like you have something. It's like the old Kings are back. That like deviation with the beam team is like so far in the rearview mirror at this point.
We're fully back to old Kings.
This is like what it's been for the last 20 or 19 seasons, I guess, if you want to be. 20 seasons, because 06 was the last playoff appearance until the beam team. 20 years of basketball hell. Quite an accomplishment when you consider that over half the teams in the league make the playoffs, and at any given point in time, there's like 5 teams that aren't trying to win. Being that bad for that long is quite an accomplishment, and not in a good way.
Consistency is key, and we are consistently horrible. And again, it's a comfortable spot because I'm very used to looking forward to the trade season. I'm very used to looking forward to the draft, because that's pretty much all we have to look forward to as Kings fans, and that continues.
So, since our last episode, the Kings went 2-4. They shockingly beat Denver and Minnesota, and then they lost 4 straight. So,
Correct.
That was short-lived. Wasn't sure they were going to win consecutive games at any point this season. Glad they did. And on some level, it's like, okay. I watched one game cumulatively, maybe over the last 6.
Yeah, I watched a fair bit of that Denver game. And if I recall correctly, that Denver game was on the second night of a back-to-back for them, for Denver. So that lends itself to a win, even though it's Denver. I forget, was there something wonky going on with Minnesota, or was that just a straight-up win?
No, that was the one where the Kings, I believe, were down 10 points with 4 minutes left, and they came back and forced overtime, and Anthony Edwards tried to go Superman. And,
right. Yep.
And who was it that kind of took over for the King? Look, maybe if you're hosting a Kings podcast, you should actually watch the games. I actually did watch the overtime. But like I said at the top of the show, we've seen this movie 20 times now, so I've seen it. Anthony Edwards, for me, he's a top 5 player in the league, but he's still really young and he's still learning. And I think he was trying to do too much, and the Kings somehow in front of their home crowd with, folks in town for Thanksgiving, pulled it out. And then, after that, you were like, okay, well, that's 2 straight against 2 of the top 3 or 4 teams in the West. Surprisingly, you got a Memphis game coming up. You got a bunch of other winnable games coming up. Can we do something? And the answer was, pretty definitive no.
Yeah, and that we got what I would describe as stomped in that Memphis game, and they had a couple of players out. They had Ja out, and I
think JJJ played this game. No, I think he played this game. I think, again, I didn't watch the game. Maybe I should if I'm hosting a podcast. But again, I've seen the movie. I know that Zach Edey went for 32.
I was going to say, regardless, even if he did play, you shouldn't get stomped by Memphis ever. So that's, it just is what it is. It tells you all you need to know. But I will say this. If we're looking for any bright side, which there's no bright side, let me tell you that right now. But if we're looking for any bright side, I think that you look at that that Minnesota game, if the Kings
Okay.
can somehow keep it close towards the end, we should have the scorers on the team that can do what we do, which is one-on-one ball, and potentially win some games. The problem with all of our other losses is we're losing by double digits plus. But if we somehow get to that fourth quarter, the end of the fourth quarter, and we're within 5-6 points, I actually do think you can put it in Zach LaVine's hands or DeRozan's hands and be like, okay, do what you do. The problem is keeping it there towards the end of the fourth quarter.
Yeah, I mean, I get that, but the Kings just can't get stops. Like, that's really their problem in crunch time, is like they do not have a 5-man lineup that they can throw out there. Even if you're going to call timeouts and go offense, defense, possession by possession the last like 3 minutes of a game.
Yeah, it just doesn't work.
Just don't have a 5-man lineup. First off, they don't have a center. Like, let's just call it what it is. And to the extent that Sabonis is a center, he's out.
Right, yep.
You have one play, maybe two playable for like Precious. Okay, like I mean he's starting for you, but like he's a playable forward. So I guess technically you have two playable forwards.
He's off the street playable.
I mean, he's literally better than any other option you have, which is shocking.
I agree.
And then, I mean, your guards, like, who's really a lockdown defender there? I mean, Keon Ellis doesn't get
Keon's the best option you get, but
even he will have games where he just goose eggs, and I don't blame him.
Yep.
But, you know, I think one of the bright spots over the last 3 games has been Maxime Raynaud.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Let's see here if I could pull up his stats, and I have a telemarketer calling me. That's great.
I know he got a career high last game, 25 points. And I think he had 19 points in the first game of those 3.
Right. So his last 3 games, he's averaging 17.6. He's shooting 60% from the field, 60% from 3, 5.4 rebounds, and 1 block in 25 and a half minutes. Let's call it. You know, he kind of reminds me in a way of like, at this point now, like this is way early in his career. I'm not saying he is this guy, but he kind of reminds me of like a Vucevic.
Okay.
He's like a finesse 5 with a touch, and he's got really good size. I think he's 7'2".
Yeah.
I actually think he moves his feet well on offense and on defense. I think he's just not quick enough at this point, but that's something you could work on to some degree. Like, I don't think he's ever going to be like 1 through 5 switchable or anything like that. But what you want to see from a guy who's a rookie, and I know he graduated, so he's like a super senior, like 22, 23-year-old. But what you want to see from a rookie is like, does he have something that he does well at the NBA level? And he does. He can score. Mm-hmm. So that's a starting point. Now, the question is, can you round out his game enough to make him a rotation player on a winning team? That's kind of the question. So, I mean, what's your read on it?
Yeah, I mean, I think as he gets into the league and gets into the weight room and starts to grow physically, we're going to get a lot better idea of what he is long term. But certainly, I think he's showing signs right now of being for a second round pick, like a pretty great second round pick. I have concerns because he is we'll call him like a lanky guy again, straight out of college, not built for the NBA quite yet. Mm-hmm. And as these guys tend to put on pounds in the weight room, it can affect their shooting. So they gotta be really careful about that. But I guess you can look at like Lauri Markkanen, and he's clearly put on pounds. I don't know if you remember what he looked like when he first came into the league. He was a bean. And so he can be kind of your blueprint for what that could potentially look like for Maxime. But no, I like what I see so far.
Yeah, I mean, I think that with big guys that are kind of finesse 5s like that, I think you always got to start with the core and lower body. I think what really throws guys off is when they get that upper body strength, which like that's not as necessary. Like what you need to be able to do is not get pushed around, which is going to be your core and your lower body. Like that's how you box people out. And to be honest, I don't know how it was for you, but for me, like around 23 or 24 is when I got like my man strength. Like,
Sure. Yep.
you know, I think that that's just naturally going to happen anyways. Like he's still young. And look, they don't make guys like that at 7'2" that often. Like that is like, you know, you see it. They start Drew Eubanks, who's like 6'9", and it's like, well, he's not big enough. Like,
well, and I think the thing that
right?
the thing that I'm like most excited about, and I think we've talked about it on the podcast before, but I mean, again, he's a 4-year Stanford guy, and so Stanford doesn't give scholarships to people who are just good at basketball or just good at any sport. They are very much so academics first, and so he's a smart guy. So I think the idea is that the game is going to slow down for him. He's going to be able to pick up on the schemes. He's going to be able to pick up on what we're trying to do on offense and defense more quickly than your average second-round pick. And if he has those abilities that he can develop, that's when you turn into a real talent in the NBA. So that's what I'm most looking forward to for him.
And Doug Christie's already talking about how like he's such a good kid. And you know, he's someone that he really admires as a young man. And I think that that's coming from a good place from Doug.
Yeah.
Pulling up some of the go ahead.
Say, just real quick, I am extremely happy to see that he's getting some minutes. Because I think that's going to be obviously most important for him is getting some run in the league. Speaking of our other draft pick, I'd like to see Neek Clifford getting some more run.
Yeah, and I think we'll get to Neek in a little bit. I think, though, unlike with big guys, I think with guards, and Neek is a guard. He's a 2-3. It's like he's 6'5", guys. Like I don't know what to tell you, but the league has gone a lot taller. Like he's a shooting guard. That's what he is at the NBA level. I mean, those guys have the G League, whereas the big guys doesn't really make sense because there's no big guys in the G League. So like they're not really going to develop. So I think that you kind of need to look at it. Now, is the first round pick going to get upset that the second round pick is going to probably be starting here pretty soon, but he's getting sent to the G League? That's, you know, something that Scott Perry's got to navigate. Real quick,
I mean, again, just from that standpoint, it's like you look at the roster. You know, you got a lot of people ahead. You got a lot of people ahead of Neek Clifford, and nobody ahead of Maxime.
You got Drew Eubanks.
Sure.
So going back to the advanced stats, real quick, I think it's just worth noting that Maxime's a 108 offensive rating and a 120 defensive rating, which is like a negative 11.5. for your net rating. So, I mean, the kid still has a lot of work to do.
Right.
We don't want to overly glaze him just because he's putting up points. There's still a lot of things at the center position you need to be able to do in the NBA that he's not doing at an NBA level yet. So there's that. But I think moving on, the next topic I'd like to discuss. What would you do if you were Doug Christie? Because, I mean, like, let's keep it real. I don't think he's going to see. Well, he might see. I don't know. He might see his second season, but if this goes the way that it is going, where you're on pace to win 19 games, he might not see his second season. So, I mean, what are you doing right now if you're Doug?
So I saw a tweet last night that was like, did Doug Christie just coach his last game?
Yeah.
And I'm still a believer that they're going to let him go through his whole contract. Because, again, why wouldn't they? What would be the point of getting rid of him? We talked about it last time. To try to win more games, it's not going to happen. You can bring in any of these great coaches, and you're not going to win with this roster. So I think they are going to let him ferry this team over the next 2 years, and then we'll bring in a real coach, because I hate to say it, Doug Christie is not a real coach at this point. He might be.
It doesn't. That's kind of the frustrating thing, right? And this is why I was against bringing him back. I think with everything going on, you don't really know if he's a coach. Like, it doesn't look like he's a coach, but I can't definitively say that.
So
right?
I say that not necessarily from a wins and loss standpoint, because I don't think anyone's going to come in here and get the wins and losses.
He's still got the third highest win percentage.
Yeah, that's true. I say that from from what I hear. Like I'm just doing like if he's passing the eye test. And
Okay.
so this is like from what I'm hearing from what's going on in the locker room, from honestly, especially from what he's saying in his post-game press conferences. He I don't like watching somebody learn on the job in a position like that. I don't want to have to watch the coach of the Sacramento Kings, the head coach, learn on the job, which I think is clearly what's going on. Going back to his comments about the haters and then watching
That's when he lost me, for the record. Like up until that point,
totally
I was relatively agnostic on like what I thought about Doug as a coach, because like I was so fixated on how messed up the roster was. But I think we said in our last episode that he must have really thought that was going to like light a fire under the team or something.
He thought he was going to get some sort of response.
There's no coming back from that once you do that. Like now you got no nukes left to fire. Like you kind of laid it out.
And like we I don't know if you saw his post-game presser last night, but and I'm sure we'll talk about Zach LaVine a little bit later, but he was asked, are you upset? Are you frustrated with the lack of effort, with the production that you're getting? And he's like, no, I think it's just part of the deal. Some nights you have it, some nights you don't. And, I'm sure he'll get another shot. And I'm like, you just can't go from like, this is Sacramento standard. Like, I'll be damned if we're going to play below this standard, to like, you play your highest paid guy 19 minutes and being like, well, it's fine. It happens. Some nights are good, some nights are bad. It's like, that's the learning on the job that I'm like, I don't want to see that. I need to see a little bit more consistent messaging. And obviously a change of messaging from where he started with that. But back to your question, if I was Doug Christie, I would be playing all my young guys. That's what I would be doing if I had full autonomy and making those decisions. So again, I look at Devin Carter. Why is Devin Carter not playing over Russell Westbrook? We know exactly what Russell Westbrook brings to the table, and he's our lowest paid guy on the team. Why would we not bring Devin Carter in there and give him significant minutes just so you can prove that he's not worth anything? Because otherwise, he's not worth anything right now sitting on the bench anyways. It's not like his trade market is anything right now. So you might as well give him some run and see if he can develop at all. Because what's the point of playing Russ?
So I'm glad you said that, because I kind of have the diametrically opposed opposite take. This would be my starting lineup. We're going to assume for a second that Sabonis is out. So Maxime, Precious, Keegan Murray. Now you have three actual tall people that, you have a structure of something that could resemble an NBA team. And then I'm probably starting, I would have said Keon Ellis not that long ago, but I think that ship has sailed at this point.
Agree. Yep. I think
it might just be time to go Neek and then Russ at the point guard. Because I think that when you look at the Kings and how they're currently situated, the one thing that they need is a point guard. And Russ, for all his faults and all his warts and being 37 and all that, he's literally a point guard who can run an offense and get guys easy buckets and assists and all that. And I think that having guys in their actual like NBA positions, like let's start developing Keegan Murray as your starting small forward. I think that like you're starting to build a structure for the future in that way. And until you can actually find a point guard, you need someone to man that position. Dennis Schroder has kind of demonstrated that he's not the guy for you. And I think he's probably gone after the 15th, to be honest. It sounds like there's some teams that are interested in him. So you might be able to just get someone to take his contract off your hands. And Devin Carter's not a point guard. Like we saw him try to run the point guard position in summer league and he couldn't do it. If you can't,
but he's not a shooting guard either, right?
No, he's not an NBA player.
Okay, so send him to the G League. So
yeah,
but this
they
is my
should
point.
Send him to that.
So,
that's what I would do. Is
right.
I would send him to the G League.
I guess. So, yeah, I guess that's a fair point. So I was going with the roster that we currently have. if I can send people to the G League, I'm sending him to the G League immediately. Because again, if he's not a viable player on our team, why is he on our team? Why is he on the big league roster? And so I think
they picked up his option too, but that's likely just so they have another small contract to include in a trade, because you need those to like structure trades and whatnot, which I think is probably coming sooner than later.
And so you're bringing LaVine and DeRozan off the bench?
No. I'm probably just at this point with LaVine. It's really weird, man. Like, there's got to be a way for Zach LaVine to be on a team and contribute because he's so talented. But like, it's just not going to be this team. I think you just send him home and say, "Hey, man, like, enjoy your life," and like, you just pray to God.
Pay him $47 million at home. Bro, you can't do that.
Sure, you can.
I mean, you can do whatever you want, but
I mean,
how do you prove
he scored 2 points last night? Like, what are we talking about? Like,
how do you approve a market for him though? How do you?
There is no market for him.
So he's untradeable.
Yeah, he's untradeable. You traded for an untradeable guy.
Because I saw I actually was laughing about a conversation we had the other day about LaVine when they were talking about the trade. I forget who was talking about it. Maybe it was on ESPN or something. Mm-hmm. They were talking about how the Clippers needed some scoring, and they talked about that trade package from that Bill Simmons put together, and basically, and they were like, you could send LaVine over there, and like they said basically the same thing you're saying, which is like, he gives you 30 points a game. He like, show me a team that doesn't need 30 points a game. And I always go back to what our GM said, where he's like, he does that he doesn't contribute to winning. Somehow, some way, he gets 30 points a game and plays absolute no role in the winning of basketball games.
I'm starting to think that Zach LaVine's ideal role as an NBA player might be a sixth man, where it's just like Lou Williams or, take your pick. Like,
okay,
you're just going to come out, Jamal Crawford. Like, you're just going to come off the bench and you're just going to score as many points as possible and don't even worry about anything else.
Like, we're looking for high intensity, low minutes here.
Like, just score as many points as physically possible while you're on the court. And like, the coach is just going to like control you by controlling your minutes. And like, that's it. Maybe in that scenario he could work, but.
And to highlight that point even further, with the Kings roster, that would give us 3 of those guys. We got
give us 3: Malik,
DeRozan, Malik, and LaVine. It's like, you don't need 3 of those guys.
And that's kind of Schroder at this point too. So you got 4 of them,
and probably Westbrook, if we're being totally honest.
No, so I think Westbrook. I think the reason Westbrook has looked so good for the Kings, I've thought about this quite a bit, is I think on the Kings, he's the starting point guard and he does kind of have a license to be Russ. And I think that's why he's looking so good. Whereas his last like 3 teams, Denver,
they try
Clippers, and the Lakers, they've been like, no, we need you to be a role player. And it's like, in theory, that should work because like he's still talented enough to, like just focus on like with these 2 things or whatever. But like, I think when you try to restrain him in that way, it makes him less productive. Like it's kind of that weird thing. Like, he needs to be who he is to be productive. The problem is at 37, if you're a team that's letting him do that, you're not a good team. Right. So I would keep him. I would guarantee his contract for the rest of this year and sign him for next year, because there's not another point guard that you have available on the roster. Like, there's no young guy. And if you draft a young point guard this year, there might not be ready to start like the first, 50, 60 games of the next season. So it's like, well, he's playable. You're not going to leak a ton of points just like having him in your starting lineup. Like, you're not going to win a ton either, but that's where you're at.
In that scenario, I'm fine to have him on the team, and I'm fine to have him being the starting point guard, so long as we're not thinking that Carter has any value whatsoever. As long as we agree on that, he can start all day long.
So, I mean, I think the next thing for us to discuss, I want us to take like a step back here and kind of give some early grades to the front office, and the Scott Perry in particular.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to go through a list of things that he has done as general manager, because we dunk on Monty and Wes a ton, and I think that it's well deserved. I mean, those guys were morons. How much of that was Vivek and how much of that was them? Look, they put their name on every single transaction that happened. So they're you don't get to put your fingerprints on the crime scene and then walk away without, any blame. So, but a lot's happened since last February. So let's just go down the list of things that Scott Perry has done, and let me get a grade from you. And if you want to discuss any one of them, we can kind of pause and discuss it. But
yeah,
the very first thing that Scott Perry did was wink, wink, hire Doug Christie.
Right. Man, I'll tell you what, my thoughts on this have kind of morphed over time.
Okay.
And the reason for that is because, again, I don't know what conversations are taking place behind closed doors. If everyone's of the understanding that we're going to blow this whole thing up and we're going to trade everybody, then I don't even mind the Doug Christie hire, because you got to have somebody cheap to ferry the team through that transitional period. But if the goal of hiring Doug Christie was to play winning basketball, I give it an F.
Okay. Not to get sidetracked here, but let me ask you, for the next Kings head coach, whenever that does happen, whether it's this offseason, whether it's, I'm not going to count, if they fire him during the season and Mike Woodson takes over, like, I'm not going to count that as,
right.
Like, we're not talking about that. I would hope that Mike Woodson's not the long-term answer here. Not that he's the worst head coach.
Answer.
He's just not the answer.
Right.
What direction would you go?
In terms of who would I pick up?
Yeah, what are you thinking?
So, legitimately, my ideal coaching candidate right now that's available would never come coach here. And it's Mike Malone.
Okay.
I would pick up Mike Malone. And I think he would be you're talking about after the transitionary period. Like if we got, again, if Doug got fired today, I would say pick up another cheap person to ferry us through this period, because that's what is going to be required. But if you were looking for a coach that knows how to win basketball games, and a coach, because it would have to go hand in hand. I like the way that Mike Malone acts. I like the way that he is, and that probably surprises people, but he's a no-nonsense guy. And
I'll never forget when he was coaching the team, when he was coaching our team for like 90 games. They lost this game, and this was like the Rudy Gay, Isaiah Thomas, DeMarcus Cousins teams, where it's like, oh, the three of them, whenever they play together, like they have a pretty good record, but like one of them's always injured with something.
Yeah.
I think Mike Malone, it was that first season when Isaiah was still on the team. He had this press conference where he's like, I told the team, I'm not a loser. Some of them might be losers, but I'm not a loser. And then he said this line, which has always stuck with me. You show me a good loser and I'll show you a loser.
Oh, that's great.
That's so good.
That's great.
That's so good.
That's great. I love it. Yeah, dude, he's got that grit, man. He's got the grit, and he calls it like he sees it. And obviously that's what we don't like. When I say we, I mean ownership doesn't like how that's what they don't like in Sacramento. But that's exactly what you need. You need somebody who's going to come in without any bias towards, I love Sacramento. God. I've been here for so long. This is where my family is. He's like, no, I don't give a shit about Sacramento. I'm here to win basketball games. That's all I care about. And he's not the rah-rah guy like Mike Doug. Brown was or Doug. Like he's not that guy. He's like, bro, dude, all I care about is winning basketball games.
The signs were all there. Like the first two signs of Vivek's dysfunction were firing Mike Malone. Mm-hmm. That was the first one where it's like, whoa, but like he had so much grace from the fans at that point. That's like, well, maybe, there's like some bigger plan that we don't see. And then he like goes out and he does his interview where he's like, we're looking for a jazz direction. You remember that BS about jazz director?
Of course.
And then the second move that really, like, this was when, like, everyone should have understood what was going on, was when they let Isaiah Thomas go for nothing.
That's it.
It's like, is there something that we're missing? Like, I think I remember at the time saying, like, did he, like, like, take a pass at someone's wife or something? Like, that just made no sense to me at the time. Isaiah Thomas was obviously a baller. And
that's when you realize there's no grand design. It's not all planned. It's by the seat of their pants.
Okay, well, I'm going to, just to recenter us, I'm going to go back to the question at hand. I give the Doug hiring a C-. I think he was in a tough position. The owner probably told him, if you want the job, like, I want you, wink, wink, to at least consider Doug. He's like, okay, I don't have a big budget. We're paying Mike Brown's contract still. Whatever. This is going to be a lost 2 years anyway. Like, let's just do it. At the same time, like, is he the best guy to develop players? I mean, why was Doug so successful last year and not this year? What could it be? I'm just going to throw a possibility out there that there was still the vestiges of Mike Brown's staff and his offense and his defense here, and he actually got the chance to build his own staff and construct a new offense and a new defense this summer. And now you're actually seeing what Doug Christie's coaching would look like, whereas last season he was just kind of the guy doing subs, but the system was in place. I don't know, man.
I was gonna say, I think there's something to getting new guys in, and the guys in the team having the coach fired, having their star player get traded, that lights a little bit of a fire under you and provides a little bit of extra juice. Okay. And that juice has obviously dried up. Right.
It's long gone.
But I think there's part of that that's like, okay, guys, like, you know what? We lost De'Aaron and we lost Mike Brown, but like, we're still NBA players. Like, let's show a little pride and let's go win some games. And obviously we're far past that now.
I'm giving it a C-. That's where I'm giving it. Okay.
Do you think he was hired to win games?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think he was hired to give it one last go with the core that you had, which was Sabonis and DeRozan and LaVine. Probably to demonstrate to the owner, that this team has like a limit of like maybe being a 500 team, which they're not even close to that at this point, but it right. is what it is.
Thank God, honestly.
Well, I mean, look, again, I'm a you win by winning guy. I get it. Like, look, if this is going to be the thing that actually gets them to try to develop their youth, like, I'm for it. But I do have concerns about Neat Clifford, Maxime, and even Murray to some extent getting okay, like just building that habit of being okay with losing. So I just, I want to put that out there.
Right.
Okay. Next move. He traded Jonas to the Denver Nuggets in exchange for Dario Saric.
I mean, obviously, I think that was a bad move.
It's an F, right? Like, there's.
Yeah, I mean, like I was gonna say, I don't know. I don't know.
You had an out. He wanted to go back to Europe. So, like, if you really had to, like, just, do, like, you just wanted to dump the salary, like, okay, like, you had your out that way. You didn't need to take back Dario Saric.
Right.
Number one. Number two, like, the team could really effing use the guy right now.
I mean, it's the same exact problem we had last year when we had to bring him in. It's like, we have no bigs. We solved the problem, and then we created the same exact problem.
Yeah.
With no solution.
And you did it ostensibly to free up some money to sign Dennis Schroder.
Sick.
So, and then you go and you sign Drew Eubanks. It's like, I would rather have Russ and Jonas.
Right.
And not have, instead of Schroder and Eubanks. Right. Like, anyway, so that's an F.
Yep.
Okay. Then he traded, I believe, the San Antonio Spurs 2027 pick to Oklahoma City for their first round, or for a first round pick. I think it was like the 24th or 26th pick in the first round this year.
Mm-hmm.
And now the San Antonio pick in 2027, we have as unprotected from the Spurs, but I think we put some heavy protections on it with OKC. So technically it still shows up in our balance sheet, but it is, likely going to convey in 2027. And we use that draft pick, because I'm going to roll these into one thing. We use that draft pick to take Neek Clifford.
Right.
How do we grade that?
I think you have to give it a C. I mean, again, I don't think that there's any way we can judge it yet. I mean, he's not lighting the world on fire. If C is average, then I think it's an average pick. He might turn out to be an average late round first pick who sometimes don't end up in the league anymore. So I think it remains to be seen.
I think it's a calculated risk that was worth taking. I'll give him a C+.
Okay.
I'm going to be a little kind on that one. Okay. Okay. Then in the second round, I believe with our own second round pick, I believe we drafted Maxime Raynaud.
Mm-hmm.
That a 42nd pick.
I think you got to give him a B+ for that.
Yeah. I think B+, A- is kind of, the fact that you have a guy
who's even remotely playable
is
already.
Playable in his rookie year as a second round pick. That's like a good sign. So
agreed.
I'm gonna add this. I wasn't in our notes, but picking up Keon Ellis's option
for this year.
Yeah, for this year.
So explain to me the.
Okay, so you could have opted out because it was a team option for this year, and I believe he would have been a restricted free agent, and then at that point you could have negotiated a longer term deal with him
or match or whatever.
By picking up his option, you make him an unrestricted free agent next summer.
I think you have to make him a restricted free agent if he's part of your plan. So, but again, if they're not treating him like he's part of the plan. So I would say that is a D move.
I'm with you. That's a D move. And I think at the time on Twitter, I kind of was throwing out there, dude, what's the big deal? Like, Kings fans get so caught up in like players like Keon Ellis and their future. And that is still technically my position and still like the right position in my opinion. But like, also, if you're going to make a guy an unrestricted free agent, you should have some communication with your head coach about like, is there a role for him on this team? If you're going to bury him at the end of the bench, you're just kind of killing it. The Keon Ellis situation actually reminds me a lot of the Isaiah Thomas situation. I mean, it's like you have this guy that all the fans are hyping up. Now, Isaiah was better than Keon, so like it's not a 1-to-1, but it's like Kings fans are like, is there some plan here that like I'm missing? And you're kind of given a little grace, and then you find out there is no plan. And that's kind of what it's going on with Keon Ellis. So I would say the only way to salvage that is if you can somehow trade him for something before the trade deadline, because there's no way he's re-signing here.
No, there's no chance he re-signs unless we way overpay for him, which what are we going to pay for? Like, again, we're not using him.
We could give him the full mid-level, which other teams are just going to give him. So it's like, like he's gone. So
So I think you got to maintain control in that situation, but of course not.
Okay, the Schroder signing.
At the time of the Schroder signing, I did not mind it because we were in desperate need of a
point
guard, and Russ did not seem super excited about signing here because he could have signed that at any time. And my personal opinion was that he was waiting to find another option. That's my personal opinion. But
it hasn't worked out.
Obviously, it hasn't worked out. So I think you got to give him a C-. Because, again, we needed somebody, and he was available, and at the time it made sense. But now that we're looking at it, it doesn't make sense. So I think C- is appropriate. Below average.
I'll give him a C. I think they did a smart thing here. They didn't use their mid-level exception to do it. What they did was they used their trade exception from trading Kevin Huerter and which was expiring, and they used that to do a sign and trade with Detroit for Schroder. So you still have your full mid-level exception if you're the Kings, and that's going to be very important as we later discuss with potential trades and whatnot. So they structured it in a good way, and I think at the dollar amount you signed him, you can still trade him. Like, maybe you're not going to get much back for him, but it's not like you're going to be hampered with his contract.
You can get off of him.
You can get off of him. So I'll give him a C. All right, Drew Eubanks signing.
I think it was required, so I'll give him a B. He's our starting center. So I mean, what else is there?
I'll give him a B-, because once you in conjunction with trading Jonas, it's like an F. But
sure,
once you traded Jonas,
on its face,
you needed someone. You're not that committed. He can give you some okay NBA minutes. Like ideally, he's your third in the depth chart, where it's like if one of your top two guys goes out, he can give you 12 minutes a night, but he's starting for the Kings. So anyway.
Right.
All right. How about the inability to close the deal on Kuminga?
I'll give that a C. I mean, again, I don't think that he wanted to close the deal. I don't know if it was an inability. I think he just didn't. He didn't. I think the Warriors played it the way they were supposed to play.
The Warriors were playing hardball.
Yeah, they played hardball, and he basically was like, "No, I'm not in." So I'd like to have Kuminga on the team right now, but I think that he played that in an average way.
Based on the information we have, I'm going to give him a B. Okay, going into the season without a playable forward on the team other than Keegan Murray, what do we think about that?
That's an F.
Okay, that's an F. Not much to really break down there.
That's a straightforward F.
Okay, Russell Westbrook signing.
Again, at the time that he was signed, my understanding was that Carter was a playable piece, and I would have given him a D at that time. Now that we see how the whole thing's played out, I think it gets an A-.
Yeah, I'm going to give him an A.
There you go.
I think that, Russ is exactly the type of budget move, Moneyball move, stopgap, where it's like, it would be kind of nice to see him playing on a winner in his twilight years, but I mean, the guy's a Swiss Army knife. He can start at power forward for you.
Honestly, he needs to be on a team like the Kings. Like you said, he needs to be on the team like the Kings because he needs to be able to spread his wings a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, the guy is actually, productive, and he really brings something to the team and to the franchise that has been lacking, especially from people like Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan, which is he just got that hustle, man. You don't see Russ quitting on any play. And it's that's a great example to set for the young guys. So I give it an absolute A. I don't give A pluses, so I'm going to give him an A on that signing. That's just a phenomenal stumbling into luck type of move right there.
Yep.
And then the last move of note up to this point is the Precious Achiuwa signing, 2 weeks into the season.
I mean, again, I think if you can find somebody off the street who is serviceable or a starter, which he has been, I think you got to give him a B+, A- on that. Again, I think, like you said, if you couple it with, if you look at the whole situation instead of looking at that move in a vacuum, it goes way, way down. But in a vacuum, you found somebody off the street who can come in and play power forward for you on a consistent basis. So I'll go with the B+.
Yeah, I'll give him a B+. I think that's fair. I think whenever you are in desperate need of, literally a playable guy, and you can find someone who gives you good minutes and probably should be your starting power forward between now and the end of the season, unless a trade happens that changes your math there. He's someone that I would like to see, if he wants to be here for the next 4 or 5 years as your backup, one of your backup bigs. I think that he does what he does. He plays within himself, and he does that well. Never going to be a star. Probably shouldn't be a starter, but he can give you good minutes. So I give that a what did I say? B plus? Would you say?
Yep. Yeah, B plus.
All right, let's zoom out even more, because I mean we could talk about Vivek, but whatever. Like
we're aligned.
We're
aligned on Vivek.
I think everyone at this point, like 98% of Kings fans, are aligned. Let's talk about some non-Kings stuff. So, gonna introduce this tweet from Shams. Came out yesterday. Giannis Antetokounmpo and his agent Alex Saratsis have started conversations with the Milwaukee Bucks about the two-time NBA MVP's future and discussing whether his best fit is staying or elsewhere, sources tell ESPN. A resolution is expected in the coming weeks. Later that day, which was yesterday, at the time of recording, he went down with a
quote-unquote calf
strain.
Which, by the way, the most unrecognizable injury in all of sports is the lower calf strain. This is the one that's like, we can't prove it, but it's sore.
It's also the one that leads to the Achilles rupture. But
True.
So, don't take it too lightly, but it could also be BS.
Right.
Okay.
The timing is interesting.
Why are we bringing this up on a Sacramento Kings podcast, Jeff? You might be asking. Well, if the Kings are going to make any trades after the December 15th opening where you can start trading people you signed in the offseason, that's probably on hold now, because I don't think any teams are going to make any trades until Giannis gets moved, because when you're moving big contracts like Giannis' contract, you're sometimes needing 3 or 4 or 5 teams, and there's all these micro trades that happen. And I think all the teams involved are going to want all their assets available to jump into a trade like this to try to pick up something as maybe a 3rd or 4th team. So I think that my prediction is this is going to hold up the trade market really probably through at least the entire month of January.
That's not great for the Sacramento Kings, considering I think we want to move off most of our players.
There's a lot of rumors that the Knicks were interested in Dennis Schroder for their backup point guard position.
Okay.
But the Knicks are one of the top teams that are being mentioned as a potential destination for Giannis. And you got to think that, like, they're not going to want to include anything in any trade for Dennis Schroder that they might need to throw into it. Okay, so that's like that's one team that just, the other team that they're kind of mentioning for Giannis is not a team that I would recommend the Kings ever doing another trade with again, which is the San Antonio Spurs.
Could you imagine?
Here's what I want to say. I wish the Spurs nothing but the worst. This dates back to 2013 when they voted for the Kings to relocate to Seattle. I don't have a lot of love for that franchise. I don't particularly care for Greg Popovich. I was a big Tim Duncan fan, so in that respect, that was all good. That was all gravy. But I wish them nothing but the worst. However, I'm petty. And I would love...
You want to see Fox go back to Milwaukee?
I would much rather De'Aaron Fox get traded to a rebuilding Milwaukee Bucks team and watch San Antonio start winning championships right away.
Wouldn't that be so sweet?
Than letting De'Aaron Fox stay on the Spurs and possibly win championships in 2 or 3 years. And to be honest, the Spurs do not need De'Aaron Fox. And given that he just signed his fat extension, I'm not sure that he's a good value for the dollar anymore at $55 million or $60 million or whatever he's going to start at next season. So, I mean, since you just signed him to an extension, you probably can't trade him yet. That might have to be a deadline move or something. But it is my sincere wish from a cosmic standpoint
I would be so
that
happy.
the Spurs swoop in here and trade Fox and like 2 first-round picks for Giannis.
Who's the starting point guard in Milwaukee right now?
That's a great question. Let's take a look. NBA.com.
Because Dame's not there anymore, right?
Well, yeah, they apparently the move that kind of set Giannis over the edge was them stretch provisioning Dame, which I don't understand. I mean, he ruptured his Achilles. Like,
right? What do you What do you want?
What exactly? And of course, like, why do teams not organize their roster in like a normal way? Miles Turner, Gary Trent, Gary Harris. I want to say, is it AJ Green? He's a shooting guard, isn't he?
I think so.
Dave Yeager, assistant coach, by the way.
Would love to see that reunion.
Hey, that might be my most realistic wish for Doug's replacement. The other one I wouldn't mind looking at.
I've heard Dave floated a little bit. You think Dave would come back?
I think
for the right amount of money,
I think Mike Malone would come back for the right amount of money, and I think that at this point, that's kind of what I feel like Vivek owes the fan base. I think Dan
pay up
Hurley,
on a coach.
I think Dan Hurley's the move, though. But yeah, okay, I'm not able to pull up who their starting point guard is that quickly. That's
regardless. If we can't think of them off the top of our heads. So De'Aaron Fox can most likely replace them.
Well, De'Aaron Fox can replace like 26 of the point guards in the NBA, right? Like, let's keep it real. He's not a like number one on a championship team, but he's an excellent player.
A starting point guard for
he's
sure.
An excellent player for sure. Yeah, man. So I mean, the Spurs, the Knicks. I don't know why like a team like the Chicago Bulls don't look at trying to make a move for him. Large Greek population. It's a cosmopolitan city, which I think is what he's kind of looking for as a European player.
I wouldn't be surprised if the Clippers make a strong push for him.
What do they have? They don't have anything. All their draft picks belong to the Thunder still.
Oh, that's a good call. Yeah,
they don't have anything to trade for him. The Lakers don't really have anything to trade for him. I mean, maybe that's the way to get off LeBron, but like, what's the point in doing that if you're Milwaukee?
Yeah, I don't see that.
You know, Miami, I don't think has anything noteworthy that they could give up for him. I mean, like,
that was a joke.
Dude.
Just want to remind you of David.
Oh, man. Okay.
He hasn't been brought up on the podcast recently.
Yeah, so I want to see De'Aaron Fox be the one who's traded for Giannis. That's my two
We'd
cents.
like to see De'Aaron Fox in Wisconsin. I think that's a fair statement.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and transition to our last topic. So the Los Angeles Clippers have sent Chris Paul home. What does that mean? We don't know, I think, fully if that means they're going to waive him or if they're just going to pay him to stay home or if they're going to try to trade him. I can't imagine he has any trade value at this point. Want to kind of read something that came out. Tensions between Chris Paul and Tyronn Lue became, quote, unreconcilable after Paul questioned Lue's 2016 championship pedigree before the team. Paul told Lue that the players did not care for Lue's 2016 ring. Lue responded saying fans did not give a F about Paul's farewell tour. So earlier in the podcast, we were talking about, can you just send Zach LaVine home? Can you just send DeMar DeRozan home? Now, I get that those guys make significantly more money than a vet minimum player like Chris Paul, who's 40 years old. But you can do it.
Right.
That's why I'm bringing this story up.
I do want to make a quick point.
Okay.
Both Chris Paul and Ty Lue are correct in their statements.
Okay.
No one cares about Ty Lue's 2016 ring because it was not a coaching performance.
Okay.
And no one cares about Chris Paul's farewell tour.
Chris Paul is one of okay, here's how I'll word it. If I had a young player who was a point guard, Chris Paul's the guy who I'd want them to watch. He was
he was an amazing player.
The textbook version of what a point guard should be. One of the best point guards in NBA history, definitely top 5, I think. Great player, Los Angeles Clippers legend. I think it's really sad to see him go out this way. But I even said at the time when the De'Aaron Fox trade happened, like, you couldn't even get Chris Paul, which they needed a point guard at the time. Chris Paul's not playable anymore at 40, so
right.
That's kind of a sad thing. But I think that organizationally, you got to know who you are, and Chris Paul at 40 can't be making the same demands that Chris Paul was making at 30.
Especially calling the coach out in front of the team, for God's sakes. It's like, what's the end goal there? Like, what's the point? What's the plan there, Chris Paul?
There is no plan.
Exactly.
Just like dare I say,
Sacramento Kings.
The Sacramento
Your Sacramento Kings.
All right,
but yeah,
man.
He's different, man. You can't. Again, you send home Chris Paul at 40 years old. You send home Zach LaVine. Those are two different people to send home with way different money on the line.
Well,
so I actually don't think it's a viable option. To be totally honest, I do not think it's a viable option to send home either DeRozan or Zach LaVine.
The Houston Rockets did it. The Houston Rockets did it with John Wall. They told him, "Don't even show up. Like, you're good."
John Wall was making. But what was the scenario around that?
They traded Russ for John Wall. I think just to get off of the Russ contract, and like they told him, like, pretty much, we're rebuilding. Like, you're good to go. Like, just.
But they got off him pretty quick, didn't they?
I think he only had like a year left. So
John Wall was not injured. I'm just trying to remember this. He was not injured,
I don't think he was.
I don't think they sent home a dude who was perfectly playable. We'll have to do a little bit more research and find and revisit that on the next pod. But I highly doubt they were paying somebody $40 million and he was perfectly playable just to sit at home. I'm not even sure the league would let you do that.
All right, man. Any last words for our fans?
Oh boy, more Kings basketball to come. We'll keep everybody up to date on the goings on.
All right, folks. Merry Christmas. Go Kings.
Merry Christmas, Toke. Go Kings.